The silence in that old house wasn't just the absence of sound. It was a living, breathing entity, heavy with years of unspoken words, forgotten laughter, and the crushing weight of solitude. It clung to the antique furniture, seeped into the faded wallpaper, and settled deep within the bones of the man who lived there. He was a fortress of grief, his eyes mirroring the dust motes dancing in the infrequent shafts of sunlight. Then she arrived, a woman whose presence, though gentle, felt like a tremor in that still world. She carried a warmth that seemed almost out of place, a quiet determination that defied the house's cold embrace. "I promise to care for you like you were my father," she said, her voice soft, yet firm, a vow whispered into the heart of despair. He didn't believe her. How could he? But what if her promise wasn't just words? What if, in the quiet rhythm of shared meals and whispered encouragement, she was about to rebuild something far more precious than he could ever imagine? What if, in mending his broken spirit, she would finally find the missing pieces of her own? This is the story of a connection forged in loneliness, a promise kept against all odds, and the extraordinary power of an ordinary heart. If this powerful opening has already captured your heart and curiosity, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to bring more deeply human and inspiring narratives like this one to life. Thank you. The address on the crumpled paper felt like a sentence. 1422, Elmwood Drive. Lyra Solara traced the elegant, almost faded script with her thumb, a nervous flutter in her stomach. It was a new assignment from the Compassionate Caregivers Agency, and her supervisor, Ms. Octavia Reed, had warned her it would be challenging. "Mr. Caspian Thorne is particular, Lyra," Octavia had said, her tone carefully neutral. "And his daughter, Ms. Serafina Thorne, is very protective. He's been through a lot." Lyra took a deep breath, adjusting the strap of her sensible, worn leather bag on her shoulder. The late autumn air in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Willow Creek, Ohio, carried the crisp scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. The sky was a muted gray, mirroring the apprehension in her heart. Lyra was in her early 30s, her curvy frame a testament to a life lived with warmth and a love for good food, but also a constant quiet battle against societal expectations. Her long, dark hair, usually pulled back in a practical ponytail, framed a face that was open and kind, with eyes that held a deep well of empathy. She wore a comfortable, yet professional tunic and slacks, chosen for ease of movement and a non-intimidating presence. She pulled up to the house. It was a grand, two-story Victorian, once magnificent, now shrouded in a palpable sense of neglect. The paint was peeling, the porch swing stood motionless, and the once vibrant flower beds were overgrown with weeds. The silence around the house felt heavier than the walls themselves, a thick, oppressive blanket that seemed to absorb all sound. This wasn't just a house. It was a monument to solitude. Lyra walked up the cracked stone path, her footsteps echoing unnaturally loud in the stillness. She rang the doorbell, a brass plate tarnished with age. The chime, when it finally sounded, was a faint, melancholic ding. She waited, listening to the rustle of leaves in the wind, the distant bark of a dog. No immediate answer. She rang again, a little more firmly. Finally, the heavy oak door creaked open, revealing a woman in her late 40s, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, her blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun. This had to be Ms. Serafina Thorne. Her face was etched with a weariness that went beyond mere fatigue. It spoke of years of worry and frustration. Her eyes, a striking shade of blue, held a guarded skepticism. "You must be Lyra Solara," Serafina said, her voice cool and formal, offering no smile. "Come in." Lyra stepped into the dimly lit foyer. The air inside was stale, carrying the faint scent of dust and something else, a lingering sadness. The furniture was draped in white sheets, as if the house were perpetually awaiting guests who would never arrive. "My father, Mr. Caspian Thorne, is in the living room," Serafina continued, leading the way down a long, dark hallway. "He's difficult. He's been through a lot. My mother passed away 6 months ago, and he hasn't been himself since. He refuses to eat properly, barely speaks, and won't leave the house. We've had 3 caregivers before you. None of them lasted more than a week." Her tone was a clear warning, a challenge. They entered a large living room, equally shrouded in gloom. Heavy velvet curtains blocked out most of the daylight. In a worn armchair by a cold fireplace sat Mr. Caspian Thorne. He was a man in his late 80s, his once strong frame now frail and hunched. His white hair was disheveled, and his eyes, a faded blue, stared blankly at the unlit fireplace. He wore a rumpled cardigan and trousers, and his skin had the pallor of someone who rarely saw the sun. The silence around him was absolute, a self-imposed exile. "Father," Serafina said, her voice sharp, "this is Lyra Solara, your new caregiver." Caspian didn't stir. He didn't even blink. It was as if he hadn't heard them, or simply chose not to acknowledge their presence. Lyra felt a pang in her chest. This wasn't just difficult. This was profound grief, a man lost in his own world of sorrow. She thought of her own father, Mr. Alaric Solara, a man whose warmth and laughter had filled their home until his sudden passing 5 years ago. The memory still brought a lump to her throat, a familiar ache in her heart. It was that memory, that understanding of loss, that had drawn her to caregiving. She knew what it felt like to miss someone so deeply it hurt to breathe. "Mr. Thorne," Lyra said softly, stepping a little closer, her voice gentle but clear. She didn't try to force eye contact. "My name is Lyra. I'm here to help you." Still no response. Serafina sighed, a sound of exasperation. "See what I mean? He won't engage. He won't eat. He just sits there." Lyra turned to Serafina, her gaze steady. "Ms. Thorne, I understand this is incredibly hard for you, and for your father, but I promise you, I will do my best. I promise to care for him like he was my own father." The words came from a deep, genuine place within her, a vow she felt compelled to make. She wasn't sure if Caspian even heard her, let alone believed her. Serafina's expression softened, just for a fraction of a second, a flicker of something akin to surprise, or perhaps a glimmer of hope, before her guardedness returned. "Very well," she said, her voice still firm. "The agency has given you my number. Call me if there are any issues. I'll be back in a week to check in." With that, she turned and left, the heavy oak door closing with a soft thud, leaving Lyra alone with the silence and the old man. If Lyra's compassionate promise and the heavy atmosphere of Caspian's home have drawn you into this story, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The first few days were a test of Lyra's patience and resolve. Caspian Thorne remained a silent, unmoving presence. He refused to eat the meals she prepared, pushing the plates away with a dismissive wave of his hand. He wouldn't answer her questions, wouldn't meet her gaze. He simply sat, staring into the cold fireplace, a ghost in his own home. Lyra tried everything. She cooked simple, comforting meals, a light chicken soup, soft scrambled eggs, warm oatmeal, hoping to tempt his appetite. She read aloud from the newspaper, hoping to spark an interest in the outside world. She played soft classical music, hoping to soothe his spirit. Nothing. The silence was her only companion, broken only by the creak of the old house and the gentle sounds of her own movements. Her curvy body, usually a source of quiet confidence, felt clumsy in the oppressive stillness. She moved carefully, trying not to disturb the fragile peace, yet yearning to break through it. She cleaned the house, opening curtains to let in slivers of sunlight, dusting away years of neglect, trying to bring a sense of life back into the stagnant air. She found old photographs, a younger Caspian, vibrant and smiling, with a beautiful woman by his side, presumably his late wife. She placed them carefully on a side table, hoping they might stir a memory, a connection. One afternoon, Lyra was in the kitchen, preparing a small plate of fruit, when she heard a faint sound from the living room, a cough. It was the first sound Caspian had made since she arrived. She hurried back, her heart quickening. Caspian was still in his chair, but his head was slightly turned, his eyes fixed on the photographs Lyra had placed. A flicker of something, recognition, crossed his face, then vanished. "That's a lovely picture, Mr. Thorne," Lyra said gently, sitting on the edge of the sofa opposite him, maintaining a respectful distance. "Is that your wife?" No response. But he didn't turn away immediately. Lyra continued, her voice soft, almost conversational. "She was a beautiful woman. You both look very happy." She waited, offering no pressure. After a long moment, Caspian slowly, almost imperceptibly, nodded. It was a tiny gesture, but for Lyra, it was a monumental breakthrough. Later that day, She managed to get him to take a few sips of water. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She called Ms. Octavia Reed, her supervisor, to update her. He acknowledged a photograph, Octavia, Lyra said, a hint of excitement in her voice. And he drank some water. Octavia's voice was warm. That's excellent, Lyra. Keep at it. You have a way with people. Just remember to take care of yourself, too. This kind of work can be draining. Lyra also found solace in talking to her friend, Thalia Rune, a fellow caregiver from a different agency. Thalia was pragmatic and kind, always offering a listening ear. It sounds incredibly tough, Lyra, Thalia said over the phone one evening. But if anyone can get through to him, it's you. You have that quiet strength, that way of seeing past the surface. I just keep thinking of my dad, Lyra confessed. How much I would have wanted someone to be there for him, if he had ever been in that situation. It makes me want to try harder. If Lyra's unwavering dedication and the small signs of progress with Caspian are touching your heart, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Days turned into weeks. Lyra established a gentle routine. She would arrive early, prepare a light breakfast, and then sit quietly in the living room, sometimes reading, sometimes just being present. She never forced conversation, but she always spoke to him, narrating her actions, sharing small observations about the day, treating him as if he were fully engaged, even when he wasn't. She learned to interpret his subtle cues, a slight shift in his gaze, a barely perceptible sigh, a flicker of interest in a particular scent from the kitchen. She discovered he had a fondness for Earl Grey tea, and the aroma would sometimes draw a faint, almost imperceptible, response. One morning, as Lyra was carefully dusting a bookshelf filled with old, leather-bound books, Caspian spoke. His voice was raspy, unused, but clear enough to make Lyra freeze. "The history of the Roman Empire," he croaked, his eyes fixed on a particular volume. "Fascinating." Lyra slowly turned, her heart pounding. "It is, Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice soft, not wanting to startle him. "Do you enjoy history?" He nodded, a little more decisively this time. "Used to. Taught it, actually. Before everything." Lyra felt a surge of excitement. A breakthrough. "You were a history teacher, Mr. Thorne? That's wonderful. My father loved history, too. He always said it was the story of us." For the first time, Caspian looked directly at her, a spark of something resembling curiosity in his faded blue eyes. "Your father?" "Yes," Lyra replied, a gentle smile on her face. "He passed away a few years ago. He was a kind man. Taught me a lot about looking for the stories behind the facts." Caspian didn't say anything more, but he continued to look at her for a moment longer than usual. It was a small connection, a fragile bridge built across the chasm of his grief. That evening, Lyra prepared a simple dinner, baked salmon with roasted vegetables. She placed the plate in front of him, along with a cup of Earl Grey tea. She sat opposite him, quietly eating her own meal. After a few minutes, Caspian slowly, hesitantly, picked up his fork. He took a small bite, then another. Lyra held her breath, a silent prayer of gratitude forming in her mind. He ate half the plate. It was the most he had eaten in weeks. The next day, Mrs. Isolde Meadows, a neighbor who lived across the street, stopped by. Isolde was a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue, known for her keen observations of the neighborhood. She had watched the parade of caregivers come and go, and her skepticism was palpable. "You're the new one, aren't you?" Isolde asked, peering at Lyra through the screen door. "How long do you think you'll last?" "They all give up eventually." Lyra met her gaze calmly. "I'm Lyra Solara, and I'm not giving up, Mrs. Meadows. Mr. Thorne is making progress." Isolde scoffed. "Progress? He hasn't left that house in 6 months. He's wasting away. Serafina should just put him in a home." "He's a proud man, Mrs. Meadows," Lyra said, her voice firm. "And he deserves to be cared for with dignity. He just needs time, and a little understanding." Isolde's eyes narrowed, but Lyra saw a flicker of something else there, perhaps a grudging respect, or at least a moment of pause. "Well, we'll see," Isolde muttered, before turning and walking back across the street, her skepticism still intact, but perhaps a tiny seed of doubt planted. Lyra knew this journey wouldn't be easy. Caspian's grief was deep, his walls high, but she also knew that beneath the silence and the sorrow, there was still a man who loved history, a man who had once been vibrant and full of life, and Lyra, with her unyielding empathy and the memory of her own father guiding her, was determined to find him. She had made a promise, and she intended to keep it, no matter how long it took. The silence in the house was beginning to recede, replaced by the faint, hopeful echoes of a connection slowly, painstakingly, being rebuilt. If Lyra's unwavering commitment and the subtle shifts in Caspian's demeanor are keeping you hooked, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The small breakthrough with Mr. Caspian Thorne, his acknowledgement of the Roman Empire, and his willingness to eat a partial meal, was a fragile spark. But for Lyra Solara, it was a beacon. It confirmed her belief that beneath the layers of grief and silence, the man was still there, waiting to be found. She doubled down on her gentle, persistent approach, understanding that healing wasn't a sprint, but a slow, deliberate journey. Lyra continued to bring life back into the old Victorian house. She opened more curtains, letting the pale autumn sunlight stream into rooms that had been dark for months. She found a collection of old jazz records in the dusty attic, and after carefully cleaning the antique record player, filled the house with soft, melodic tunes. Caspian, initially unresponsive, would sometimes tap his fingers lightly on the armrest of his chair, a subtle rhythm in sync with the music. She discovered his love for crossword puzzles, finding a stack of old newspapers with half-finished grids. She started leaving a fresh puzzle and a pencil on the small table beside him each morning. For days, they remained untouched. Then, one afternoon, she returned from the kitchen to find him meticulously filling in a few squares, his brow furrowed in concentration. He didn't look up, but Lyra felt a surge of quiet joy. "That's a tough one today, Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice light. "I always struggle with the 7-letter word for ephemeral." Caspian grunted, a sound that was almost a chuckle. "Fleeting," he rasped without looking at her. "Of course," Lyra exclaimed, genuinely impressed. "You're brilliant." He didn't respond, but Lyra noticed a faint, almost imperceptible lift at the corner of his mouth. It was the closest thing to a smile she had seen. If these small, heartwarming moments of connection are resonating with you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Lyra also started taking Caspian outside, weather permitting. At first, it was just to the porch swing, where he would sit wrapped in a blanket, staring at the overgrown garden. She would talk to him about the changing leaves, the birds singing in the trees, the simple beauty of the world outside his self-imposed prison. One day, she brought him a small pair of pruning shears. "The roses used to be magnificent, Mr. Thorne," she said, gesturing to the thorny, tangled bushes. "Your wife must have loved them." Caspian looked at the shears, then at the roses, a distant look in his eyes. He slowly took the shears, his frail hands fumbling with them. Lyra sat beside him, offering quiet encouragement. He began to snip, slowly at first, then with a growing sense of purpose, clearing away the dead branches. It was arduous work for him, but he persisted, a faint flush returning to his pale cheeks. This small act of tending to the garden seemed to awaken something within him. He started asking for specific tools, remembering the names of plants. Lyra, though not a gardener herself, learned alongside him, looking up plant names and care instructions, turning it into a shared project. Her curvy figure, which sometimes made her feel self-conscious, proved to be an asset in this work. Her strength allowed her to help him with heavier tasks, and her comfortable, unhurried movements put him at ease. She wasn't rushing him. She was moving with him. The change in Caspian was slow, almost imperceptible day by day, but undeniable over weeks. He began to initiate small conversations, mostly about history or the garden. He ate more consistently, though still in small portions. He even started to look at Lyra directly, his faded blue eyes holding a glimmer of the man he once was. Dr. Zephyr Kale, Caspian's physician, made a house call a few weeks into Lyra's tenure. Dr. Kale was a young, sharp doctor with a kind demeanor, but also a pragmatic approach to his elderly patients. He had been concerned about Caspian's rapid decline. "Mr. Thorne," Dr. Kale said after a thorough examination, "you're looking much better. Your vitals are stable, and you've even gained a little weight. What's your secret?" Caspian, to Lyra's surprise, offered a faint smile. "Lyra's cooking," he rasped, and her insistence on making me prune these infernal roses. Dr. Kale looked at Lyra, a genuine smile spreading across his face. Ms. Solara, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. This is remarkable progress. I honestly didn't expect such a turnaround. Lyra felt a flush of pride. He just needed a little time, Dr. Kale, and a reason to engage. Indeed, Dr. Kale replied, his gaze thoughtful. Sometimes the best medicine isn't in a bottle, but in human connection. If Dr. Kale's acknowledgement of Lyra's impact is making you smile, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The day Serafina Thorne was due to return for her weekly check-in, Lyra felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She had tidied the house meticulously, ensuring Caspian was freshly bathed and dressed in clean clothes. She had even managed to coax him into a short walk around the block, a monumental achievement. When Serafina's sleek car pulled into the driveway, Lyra and Caspian were sitting on the porch swing, a rare ray of late-afternoon sun warming their faces. Caspian was actually reading a book, a worn copy of The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, and Lyra was quietly tending to a potted plant. Serafina stepped out of her car, her usual severe expression firmly in place. But as she approached the house, her steps faltered. She stopped dead in her tracks, her blue eyes wide with disbelief. "Father?" she whispered, her voice uncharacteristically soft. Caspian looked up from his book, a faint smile on his face. "Serafina, dear, you're early." Serafina rushed forward, her composure completely shattered. She knelt beside Caspian, her hand trembling as she touched his arm. "Father, you're outside, and you're reading. You haven't read in months." Tears welled in her eyes, a raw emotion Lyra hadn't seen before. "Lyra has been quite insistent," Caspian said, a hint of dry humor in his voice. "Says a mind needs exercise, even an old one." Serafina looked at Lyra, her gaze filled with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "Lyra," she said, her voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. This is a miracle. Thank you." Lyra simply smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from her. "He just needed a little encouragement, Ms. Thorne, and a lot of patience." That evening, Serafina stayed for dinner, a meal Lyra had prepared with Caspian's input. The dining room, once a silent tomb, was filled with the gentle clinking of silverware and the soft murmur of conversation. Caspian, though still quiet, participated, sharing a few anecdotes about his teaching days, sparked by Lyra's questions. Serafina watched him, her eyes shining with unshed tears, a fragile hope blossoming in her heart. Before she left, Serafina pulled Lyra aside. "Lyra," she said, her voice low, "I was wrong about you, about everything. I judged you, and I judged my father. I thought he was beyond help. You've given me back my father. You've given him back his life. Please, don't ever leave." Lyra felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not just for Caspian, but for herself. She had faced skepticism, despair, and a deeply entrenched grief, and she had persevered. The memory of her own father, Alaric, who had always taught her the value of kindness and resilience, felt like a warm embrace. If Serafina's emotional realization and the profound impact Lyra is having are touching your heart, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The next few weeks saw Caspian's progress accelerate. He began to take a genuine interest in his surroundings. He asked Lyra to help him organize his vast collection of history books, sharing fascinating tidbits about ancient civilizations and forgotten empires. He even started to tell Lyra stories about his late wife, Eleanor, their travels, their shared passions. These were moments of profound intimacy, as Caspian slowly opened up his heart, sharing his memories, both joyful and sorrowful. Lyra listened with unwavering attention, offering comfort and understanding. She learned about Eleanor's love for gardening, her passion for classical music, and her gentle humor. In these stories, Lyra saw the depth of Caspian's love and understood the magnitude of his grief. She realized that by helping him remember, she was also helping him heal. One morning, Orion Sterling, the young grocery delivery driver, arrived with Caspian's weekly order. Orion was a cheerful, observant young man who had witnessed the house's transformation. "Wow, Mr. Thorne," Orion exclaimed, seeing Caspian sitting on the porch, actively pruning a rosebush. "You're looking great, and the garden's really coming along." Caspian offered a genuine smile. "Thanks, Orion. Lyra here has a knack for bringing things back to life." Orion winked at Lyra. "She certainly does. This place used to feel like a haunted mansion. Now it's got a real good vibe." Even Mrs. Isolde Meadows, the skeptical neighbor, began to show signs of thawing. She would sometimes wave from her porch, or even stop to exchange a few words with Lyra and Caspian. One afternoon, she brought over a plate of freshly baked cookies. "Thought you two might like these," Isolde mumbled, avoiding direct eye contact with Lyra. "My Eleanor used to love my oatmeal raisin." Caspian's eyes widened. "Eleanor loved oatmeal raisin," he said softly, a wistful smile on his face. "Thank you, Isolde. That's very kind." Isolde actually blushed, a rare sight. "Well, he's looking much better," she said to Lyra, a grudging compliment. "You've done good, girl." Lyra felt a deep sense of contentment. She wasn't just caring for Caspian's physical needs. She was nurturing his spirit, helping him find his way back to the world. And in doing so, she was also finding a deeper strength within herself. The quiet ache of missing her own father was still there, but it was now intertwined with the joy of helping another father reclaim his life. She was honoring her promise, not just to Caspian, but to the memory of Alaric Solara. The silence in the house was now a comfortable one, filled with the soft strains of jazz, the rustle of turning pages, the gentle murmur of conversation, and the occasional burst of Caspian's dry humor. Lyra, the curvy caregiver, had not just rebuilt a man's hope. She had helped him rediscover his reason to smile again. And in helping him heal, she was discovering the profound strength and purpose she had been searching for in herself all along. The journey was far from over, but the whispers of revival had grown into a chorus of quiet joy. The whispers of revival in Mr. Caspian Thorne's house had grown into a steady, comforting hum. Lyra Solara had not merely brought him back from the brink of despair. She had helped him rediscover the vibrant threads of his own life, weaving them back into a tapestry that was rich with memory and renewed purpose. The old Victorian, once a mausoleum of grief, now felt like a home again, filled with the soft strains of jazz, the rustle of turning pages, and the gentle murmur of conversation. Caspian's physical health continued to improve under Lyra's diligent care, and Dr. Zephyr Kale's oversight. He gained more weight, his skin lost its pallor, and the spark in his faded blue eyes grew brighter each day. He moved with more confidence, no longer confined to his armchair, but exploring the rooms of his house, rediscovering forgotten treasures. His mind, once clouded by sorrow, was sharp and engaged, particularly when discussing history or the intricate details of his beloved garden. Lyra and Caspian developed a rhythm, a comfortable companionship that transcended the typical caregiver-client relationship. Their mornings often began with a shared breakfast, Lyra preparing a hearty meal while Caspian read the newspaper, occasionally interjecting with a witty comment or a historical anecdote. They spent hours in the garden, Lyra learning the names of plants and the nuances of pruning from Caspian, whose hands, though still frail, moved with a renewed sense of purpose. The rose bushes, once tangled and neglected, now bloomed in vibrant hues, a living testament to their shared effort. "You know, Lyra," Caspian remarked one sunny afternoon, as they sat on the porch swing, admiring their handiwork. "My Eleanor used to say that a garden is like life. You have to tend to it, prune the dead parts, and trust that beauty will always return." He looked at Lyra, a genuine soft smile on his face. "You've been my gardener, Lyra. You've helped me bloom again." Lyra's heart swelled with emotion. The connection she felt with Caspian was profound, echoing the warmth and wisdom she had cherished with her own father, Alaric. In caring for Caspian, she was not just fulfilling a job. She was healing a part of herself, filling the void left by her father's passing. The quiet ache of her own grief was slowly being replaced by a sense of purpose and a deep, abiding affection for the old man. If the deepening bond between Lyra and Caspian, and the beautiful metaphor of the garden, are touching your heart, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Miss Seraphina Thorne, Caspian's daughter, became a more frequent visitor. Her initial skepticism had completely dissolved, replaced by overwhelming gratitude and a newfound appreciation for her father. She often brought him small gifts, a new history book, a comfortable blanket, a framed photograph of his late wife. She would sit and listen to his stories, something she hadn't done in years, her eyes often welling up with tears of regret and relief. "Lyra," Serafina confided one evening, after Caspian had retired for the night, "I feel so much guilt. I was so consumed by my own grief and frustration. I didn't see how much he was suffering. I almost gave up on him. You never did." Lyra placed a comforting hand on Serafina's arm. "You were hurting too, Ms. Thorne. Grief can blind us, but you're here now, and that's what matters. Your father loves you very much." Serafina nodded, wiping a tear from her eye. "He does, and he loves you, Lyra. He talks about you constantly. You've become family." This sentiment was echoed by Dr. Zephyr Cale during his next visit. "Mr. Thorne, your recovery is truly remarkable," Dr. Cale stated, reviewing Caspian's charts. "I'm even considering allowing you to attend the annual Willow Creek Historical Society Gala next month, if you feel up to it. It's something you always loved." Caspian's eyes lit up at the mention of the gala. "The Historical Society? Oh, I haven't been in years. Eleanor and I always went." He looked at Lyra, a hopeful question in his gaze. "That sounds wonderful, Mr. Thorne," Lyra exclaimed, genuinely excited for him. "We can get you a new suit, and I'll make sure you're ready." The prospect of the gala became a new focus for Caspian, a tangible goal that pulled him further out of his isolation. He started taking longer walks with Lyra, practicing his stamina. He even began to shave and dress with more care, a renewed sense of pride in his appearance. If Caspian's renewed zest for life and the prospect of the gala are bringing a smile to your face, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. However, not all interactions were without their challenges. Mrs. Isolde Meadows, the observant neighbor, while no longer openly skeptical, still harbored a certain reserve. She would often watch Lyra and Caspian from her window, a silent, assessing gaze. One afternoon, as Lyra was helping Caspian prune a particularly stubborn branch, Isolde approached them. "Heard about the Historical Society Gala?" she said, her voice a little softer than usual. "You're taking him, are you?" "Yes, Mrs. Meadows," Lyra replied, smiling. "He's very excited." Isolde nodded slowly. "He hasn't been out much since Eleanor passed. It'll be good for him. Eleanor loved those galas, always wore her blue velvet dress." She paused, a wistful look on her face. "You know, Lyra, you've done something truly special here. I never thought I'd see him like this again." It was the closest thing to an outright compliment Lyra had received from Isolde, and it meant a great deal. But a new challenge arose from an unexpected source. Ms. Octavia Reed, Lyra's supervisor from Compassionate Caregivers, called for a routine check-in. "Lyra," Octavia began, her tone professional, "I've received some feedback from Ms. Serafina Thorne. She's incredibly pleased with your work, of course, but she's also expressed some concern about your extended hours. She feels you're going above and beyond, almost blurring the lines of your professional duties." Lyra felt a pang of anxiety. "I understand, Octavia, but Mr. Thorne's progress has been remarkable, and I truly care for him. It doesn't feel like work when I'm helping him in the garden or reading to him." "I know you do, Lyra," Octavia said gently, "and your dedication is commendable. But we have agency policies. We need to ensure you're not overextending yourself and that the boundaries remain clear. We don't want any misunderstandings, especially with a family as prominent as the Thornes." Lyra understood the agency's perspective, but it felt like a cold, bureaucratic assessment of a deeply human connection. She wasn't just a service provider. She was a lifeline, a companion, a friend. The thought of having to pull back, to create distance, felt like a betrayal to Caspian. That evening, Lyra felt a quiet sadness. She watched Caspian, who was now animatedly discussing the origins of the Roman Republic, his eyes bright with intellectual fervor. How could she put a boundary on this? How could she quantify the joy of seeing him smile, the satisfaction of helping him reclaim his life? She called her friend, Thalia Rune, seeking advice. "They want me to scale back, Thalia," Lyra explained, her voice heavy. "They think I'm getting too involved, but how can I not be? He's like family to me." Thalia listened patiently. "Lyra, I get it. It's the hardest part of our job, isn't it? We pour our hearts into these people, and then we have to remember it's a professional relationship. But Octavia has a point. It's for your protection too. You don't want to burn out, and you don't want to create expectations that can't be met long term. But what about his needs? Lyra countered, frustrated. He's thriving because of this connection. If I pull back, will he regress? Thalia sighed. It's a tough balance. Maybe you can find ways to maintain the connection without overextending. Encourage Serafina to spend more time with him, for example, or find other activities that don't solely rely on you. Lyra knew Thalia was right, but the thought still weighed heavily on her. She had promised to care for him like her own father, and that promise felt like an unbreakable bond. She spent the next few days trying to subtly encourage Caspian to engage more with Serafina, suggesting activities they could do together. Serafina, eager to reconnect with her father, readily agreed, spending more afternoons at the house, listening to his stories and even helping in the garden. If Lyra's internal conflict and the delicate balance of her professional and personal commitment are resonating with you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. The day of the Willow Creek Historical Society Gala arrived. Caspian, dressed in a sharp new suit, looked like a different man. His white hair was neatly combed, his eyes sparkled with anticipation, and a genuine smile played on his lips. Lyra, wearing a simple but elegant dress that flattered her curvy figure, felt a surge of pride as she helped him with his tie. Serafina arrived, looking stunning in an emerald green gown. She beamed at her father, tears welling in her eyes. "Father, you look absolutely dashing. Mother would be so proud." As they drove to the gala, Caspian held Lyra's hand, a gesture of quiet affection. "Thank you, Lyra," he said, his voice soft. "For everything, for bringing me back." The gala was held in the grand ballroom of the Willow Creek Community Center. The room buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Caspian, initially a little overwhelmed by the crowd, soon found himself surrounded by old friends and colleagues, all marveling at his transformation. He spoke with animation, sharing anecdotes, his passion for history reignited. Lyra watched him from a distance, a profound sense of fulfillment washing over her. This was her reward. Seeing him thrive, seeing him smile, seeing him reconnect with the world he thought he had lost. She noticed Dr. Kale nodding approvingly from across the room, and even Mrs. Isolde Meadows, who was attending with her husband, offered Lyra a warm, genuine smile. Later in the evening, as Caspian was engaged in a lively discussion with a group of historians, Serafina approached Lyra. "Lyra," she began, her voice serious, "I've been thinking a lot about what Octavia said, and about what you've done for my father. I know the agency has rules, but I also know that what you have with my father is unique. It's not just a job, it's a bond." Lyra looked at her, unsure where this was going. "I want to offer you a different arrangement," Serafina continued, her gaze steady. "I want to hire you directly, as my father's personal companion and caregiver. You would set your own hours, within reason, and your compensation would be significantly higher. You would still have the support of Dr. Kale and the agency for any medical needs, but you wouldn't be bound by their rigid rules. You would be family, Lyra, a true part of our lives." Lyra was stunned. The offer was generous, unexpected, and deeply touching. It was an acknowledgement of her worth, not just as a caregiver, but as a person who had brought light back into a dark world. It was an opportunity to continue her profound connection with Caspian, free from the constraints of agency policies. She looked across the room at Caspian, who was now laughing, a sound she hadn't heard in months. He was alive again, truly alive, and she had played a pivotal role in that revival. In helping him heal, she had indeed discovered the strength she had been searching for in herself all along, the strength to trust her instincts, to follow her heart, and to believe in the transformative power of genuine human connection. The journey had been arduous, but the unfolding tapestry of their lives was now richer, more vibrant, and filled with the promise of a future woven with care, compassion, and an unyielding heart. The whispers of revival in Mr. Caspian Thorne's house had blossomed into a symphony of life. The old Victorian, once a monument to solitude, now hummed with a gentle, vibrant energy. Lyra Solera had not merely cared for Caspian. She had meticulously, patiently, and with an unwavering heart, coaxed him back from the precipice of despair. The bond between them had deepened into something profound, a connection forged in shared vulnerability and mutual respect. Caspian, once a silent, withdrawn figure, was now a man re-engaged with the world. His eyes, no longer faded, held a keen intelligence, often twinkling with a dry wit that Lyra had come to adore. He ate with gusto, his appetite fully restored, and his physical health, as confirmed by Dr. Zephyr Cale, was remarkably improved. "Mr. Thorne, you're defying all expectations," Dr. Cale had declared during his last visit, a genuine smile on his face. "Keep up the good work, both of you." The garden, once a tangled mess, was now a testament to their shared efforts. Caspian, with Lyra's patient assistance, had transformed it into a riot of color and fragrance, a living tribute to his late wife Eleanor. He spent hours there, pruning, planting, and reminiscing, his stories of Eleanor now filled with warmth rather than sorrow. Lyra would often sit with him, listening, learning, and finding a quiet peace in the shared moments. If Caspian's remarkable recovery and the beautiful bond he shares with Lyra are warming your heart, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. Lyra, in turn, had found a profound healing within herself. The ache of missing her own father, Mr. Alaric Solara, had not vanished, but it had transformed. It was no longer a raw wound, but a gentle, guiding presence. Caring for Caspian, fulfilling the promise she had made to treat him like her own father, had allowed her to process her own grief, to understand that love, even in loss, could still inspire and empower. Her curvy figure, once a source of quiet self-consciousness, was now simply a part of her, a strong, capable body that allowed her to do the work she loved. Her confidence had soared, not from external validation, but from the deep, internal knowledge of her own strength and capacity for compassion. Ms. Seraphina Thorne, Caspian's daughter, had become a regular visitor, her initial skepticism replaced by boundless gratitude and a genuine affection for Lyra. She often brought groceries, flowers, or simply sat and chatted with her father and Lyra, enjoying the newfound warmth in the house. Seraphina saw not just a caregiver, but a true friend, a lifeline who had brought her father back to her. "Lyra," Seraphina confessed one afternoon, her voice soft, "I don't know how I can ever repay you. You've given me back my father, and you've taught me so much about patience and unconditional love. I was so focused on what he wasn't doing, I couldn't see what he needed." Lyra smiled. "You're a wonderful daughter, Seraphina. You just needed a little help seeing through the grief. We all do sometimes." The neighborhood, too, had noticed the change. Mrs. Isolde Meadows, the once skeptical neighbor, was now a frequent, if still gruff, visitor, often bringing over baked goods or fresh produce from her own garden. "Heard you two were talking about starting a compost heap," Isolde grumbled one day, handing Lyra a bucket of vegetable scraps. "Figured you could use these. Don't want good scraps going to waste." It was her way of showing approval, a silent acknowledgement of Lyra's transformative presence. Orion Sterling, the grocery delivery driver, would often linger a moment longer, chatting with Caspian about current events or local sports. "Mr. Thorne, you're sharper than ever," Orion would exclaim, genuinely impressed by Caspian's insightful comments. "You should write a column for the local paper." If the blossoming community around Caspian and Lyra is bringing a smile to your face, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories. One crisp autumn morning, a letter arrived for Lyra from compassionate caregivers. It was from Ms. Octavia Reed, her supervisor. Lyra opened it, a sense of anticipation bubbling within her. The letter offered her a promotion, lead caregiver and training coordinator. The role would involve mentoring new caregivers, developing training programs, and overseeing challenging cases, much like Caspian's. It was a significant step up, a recognition of her exceptional skills and profound empathy. Lyra felt a surge of pride, but also a pang of apprehension. This new role would mean less direct, day-to-day caregiving. It would mean leaving Caspian. She discussed it with Caspian that evening, her voice tinged with sadness. "Mr. Thorne, I've been offered a new position. It's a wonderful opportunity, but it would mean I wouldn't be able to be your primary caregiver anymore." Caspian listened intently, his expression thoughtful. He reached out and gently patted her hand. "Lyra," he said, his voice soft, "you've given me back my life. You've taught me how to live again, even after great loss. You deserve to share that gift with others. My dear, you must take this opportunity. You have a talent that needs to be shared. His words, filled with genuine encouragement, brought tears to Lyra's eyes. She realized that her promise to care for him like her father had come full circle. He was now encouraging her, just as her own father would have. Lyra accepted the promotion, but with one condition. She would personally train her replacement for Caspian, ensuring a seamless transition and finding someone who shared her philosophy of compassionate care. Ms. Octavia Reed readily agreed, understanding the unique bond Lyra had formed. The transition was bittersweet. Lyra carefully introduced Caspian to Ms. Willow Maeve, a kind and experienced caregiver with a gentle demeanor. Lyra spent 2 weeks working alongside Willow, sharing all of Caspian's routines, preferences, and the nuances of his personality. Caspian, though sad to see Lyra go, was gracious and welcoming to Willow, a testament to his renewed spirit. On Lyra's last day as his primary caregiver, Caspian had a surprise for her. He had spent weeks with Serafina's help, compiling a beautifully bound book. It was a collection of his favorite historical anecdotes, personal reflections, and even a few of his old crossword puzzles, all dedicated to Lyra. "For you, Lyra," he said, his voice thick with emotion, handing her the book. "A small token of my immense gratitude. You didn't just care for me. You reminded me that life, even in its twilight, can still hold beauty and purpose. You taught me to smile again." Lyra hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne. You've taught me so much too. You've helped me find the strength I didn't know I had. If this heartfelt exchange and Caspian's beautiful gift are moving you, please show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your engagement helps us continue to share these powerful and uplifting stories." Lyra thrived in her new role as lead caregiver and training coordinator. She developed innovative training modules that emphasized empathy, active listening, and a holistic approach to caregiving, drawing heavily from her experiences with Caspian. She taught new caregivers to look beyond the physical needs, to see the person, the history, the stories beneath the surface. Her curvy figure, once a quiet concern, was now a symbol of her approachable, nurturing presence, making new caregivers feel at ease and inspired. Her work took her to various homes, mentoring caregivers and helping families navigate the complexities of elder care. She became a sought-after speaker at caregiving conferences, sharing her unique philosophy and the powerful story of Caspian Thorne. She often spoke of the Caspian effect, how a single, genuine connection could transform a life, and in doing so, transform the caregiver's life as well. One sunny afternoon, Lyra received a call from Serafina. "Lyra," Serafina's voice was bright. "Father wants to go to the annual Willow Creek Fall Festival. He hasn't been in years. He specifically asked if you would come with us." Lyra's heart swelled. The Fall Festival was a vibrant community event, something Caspian had avoided for years. This was a monumental step. "I'd be honored, Serafina," Lyra replied, a wide smile on her face. At the festival, Lyra walked beside Caspian, his arm linked through hers, as Serafina pushed his wheelchair. Caspian, dressed in a smart tweed jacket, his eyes bright, greeted old acquaintances, admired the craft stalls, and even shared a laugh with Orion Sterling, who was volunteering at the pumpkin patch. He ate a caramel apple with relish, his face alight with simple joy. Mrs. Isolda Meadows, seeing them, walked over, a rare, genuine smile on her face. "Caspian, you old rascal, look at you out and about. It's good to see you, truly." Caspian beamed. "It's good to be seen, Isolda. Thanks to Lyra here." As the sun began to set, casting long golden shadows across the festival grounds, Lyra watched Caspian, truly happy, surrounded by his daughter and the community he had once withdrawn from. He was no longer the lonely old man in the silent house. He was a man reborn, a testament to the power of human connection. Lyra felt a profound sense of peace. She had made a promise to care for him like her father, and she had kept it, but in doing so, she had also cared for herself. She had discovered that the strength she had been searching for wasn't in overcoming her physical appearance or proving her worth to others. It was in the boundless empathy of her heart, the unwavering spirit she carried, and the deep, authentic connections she forged. Her journey, from a caregiver battling her own grief to a leader inspiring others, was a powerful lesson. It taught her that true caregiving wasn't just about tasks. It was about seeing the soul beneath the surface, about rebuilding hope, one meal, one conversation, one shared moment at a time. And in helping Caspian heal, Lyra Solara, the curvy caregiver, had not only given him a reason to smile again, but had found her own reason to shine, a beacon of compassion in a world that desperately needed it. Her unyielding heart had not just changed one life, but had set a ripple effect of kindness and understanding into motion, proving that the most profound strength often lies in the gentlest of hands. What an incredibly heartwarming and powerful conclusion to Lyra's journey. If her story of unwavering compassion, resilience, and the transformative power of human connection has touched your heart, please show your support. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more powerful and uplifting stories like this one. Your engagement helps us continue to create content that celebrates the human spirit. Thank you for watching.